Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of his ship. The Liberty's Edge was humanity's newest exploration vessel. Through the large windows, he could see the strange purple clouds that surrounded their solar system. Jake had always wondered why those clouds were there. They seemed to go on forever, like a wall around their home. What Jake did not know was that the clouds were not natural. They were made by aliens. For 300 years, 12 different alien races had worked together to hide Earth from the rest of the galaxy. They called themselves the Galactic Council, not far away from Earth. On a space station the size of a small moon, the Council met every day. The station orbited 2 bright stars in a system called Kepler 442. Counselor Zephyx was one of the leaders. His people were made of living crystal, and they could live for thousands of years. Today, Zephyx was reading reports about the humans on Earth. The humans are still trapped, Zephyx told the other council members. Their ships can only travel about 50 light years from their home planet. The hiding field around their system is working perfectly. The other council members nodded. There was Counselor Vextar, who looked like a giant shadow with glowing eyes. There was Counselor Quill, who had beautiful feathers that changed color when she spoke. They all agreed that keeping the humans hidden was the right thing to do. But the humans were getting smarter. Dr. Lisa Parker worked on a research station at the edge of their solar system. She studied the space around Earth, looking for anything unusual. For weeks, she had been finding strange energy patterns in her computer readings. The patterns were too regular to be natural. "Ryan, come look at this," Lisa called to her friend Dr. Ryan Torres. "These energy readings keep showing up in the same places. It's like someone is scanning our solar system." Ryan looked at the computer screen. The numbers and graphs meant that something was sending out energy beams toward Earth. "Maybe it's just space weather," he said. "You know how weird things can get out there." But Lisa knew better. She had been studying space for 15 years. Natural events did not create patterns like these. Someone was watching them. On the other side of the solar system, Lieutenant Commander Alex Bennett was doing his job on a patrol ship called the Frontier Guard. His job was to watch for anything strange in the empty space between planets. His sensors were the best that humans had ever built. Suddenly, his screen lit up with a massive contact. Something huge was out there in the darkness. It was bigger than any ship humans had ever built. But when Alex tried to get a better look, the contact vanished. It was like it had never been there at all. "Did you see that?" Alex asked his crew. "See what, sir?" replied his sensor operator. "I don't show anything on my screen." Alex stared at his display. He knew what he had seen. Something was hiding out. There in the dark, the Council had been watching Earth since the year 1700. Back then, humans were just starting to build factories and steam engines. The Council's scout ships had found Earth by accident while exploring that part of the galaxy. What they found scared them. Humans were different from other species in the galaxy. Most alien races were peaceful. They avoided war and liked to solve problems by talking. But humans were fighters. They had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Even worse, humans learned new things very quickly. Their technology grew faster than any other species the Council had ever seen. The Council was most afraid of one thing about humans. When humans faced a threat from outside their world, they stopped fighting each other and worked together. The Council had seen this happen many times in human history. Every time an outside enemy appeared, humans would unite and fight back with incredible determination. "They are too dangerous," Counselor Zephyx had said 300 years ago. "If we let them into the galaxy, they will cause nothing but trouble." The other council members agreed. They decided to hide Earth from the rest of the galaxy until humans either destroyed themselves or became more peaceful. The council built a giant cloaking field around Earth's solar system. Any ship that tried to enter the area would be turned away without knowing why. The field also hid all the light and radio signals that came from Earth. For 300 years, the plan worked perfectly. The humans built better ships and traveled to other planets in their system. They even built colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. But they never found any sign of alien life. The Council made sure of that. But now, cracks were starting to show in the Council's perfect plan. Human technology was getting too good. Their sensors were starting to see through the cloaking field. Their ships were getting faster and traveling farther from Earth. Dr. Lisa Parker was not the only human who had noticed the strange energy patterns. All across human space, scientists were finding the same readings. They were starting to ask questions. Why were the energy patterns always in the same places? Why did they seem to be watching Earth? Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, looking out at the purple clouds. He had been a space captain for 20 years. He had explored more star systems than any other human, but he had never seen anything like those clouds. "Captain," called his navigation officer, "I'm getting some weird readings from the cloud boundary. It's like there's something solid inside all that gas and dust." Morrison walked over to look at the readings. The instruments showed that the clouds were not what they seemed. There was structure inside them, metal and energy signatures that looked almost like buildings. "Set course for the boundary," Morrison ordered. "I want to get a closer look." As the Liberty's edge moved toward the purple clouds, sensors across the galaxy began to notice. The Council's monitoring stations sent automatic alerts to the main base. For the first time in 300 years, a human ship was approaching the edge of the containment field. On the Council station, alarms began to sound. The perfect plan that had kept humanity hidden for 3 centuries was about to face its greatest test. The humans were coming. Dr. Kevin Walsh was digging in the dirt on a planet called Kepler 438b. He was a xenarchaeologist, which meant he studied old alien ruins. The planet was far from Earth, about 600 light-years away. Kevin had been working there for 3 months, trying to understand the strange buildings that covered the planet's surface. The ruins were very old. Kevin's tests showed they were at least 5,000 years old, but something was wrong with them. The symbols carved into the stone walls looked familiar. Too familiar. Kevin knelt down and brushed dirt away from a large stone tablet. The symbols became clear. His heart started beating faster. These were not alien symbols. They were human symbols. Some looked like ancient Sanskrit from India. Others looked like mathematical equations that humans had only figured out in the last 100 years. "This is impossible," Kevin said to himself. He ran his fingers over the carved stone. These ruins are 5,000 years old, but these math problems were only solved in 1920. Kevin took pictures of everything and sent them back to Earth. The message would take 600 years to reach home at the speed of light. But Kevin's ship had a faster-than-light radio. His message reached Earth in just 2 days. Dr. Amanda Foster was the head of the Xenological Institute on Earth. When she got Kevin's message, she could not believe what she was seeing. The pictures showed human writing and human mathematics carved into alien ruins. She called together the best scientists on Earth to study the findings. "This changes everything we know about our history," Amanda told her team. "If humans were on other planets 5,000 years ago, then we had space travel long before we thought." The team worked day and night to understand the carvings. What they found was even more shocking. The ruins were not just carved with human knowledge. They were carved by humans. Ancient humans who had somehow traveled between the stars thousands of years before recorded history said it was possible. On the Council station, emergency meetings were being held. Counselor Vextar brought terrible news to the other Council members. "The humans have found the Kepler ruins," Vextar said. His shadow-like form seemed to grow darker with worry. Our archaeological teams report human activity in the restricted zone. Counselor Quill's feathers turned bright red, which meant she was angry. How is this possible? The cloaking systems should have kept their ships away from that system. Their technology is growing faster than we expected, Sefix admitted. He did not want to say it, but the humans were becoming too smart to control. They have built new sensor systems that can see through our hiding fields. The council members looked at each other with fear. For 300 years, their plan had worked perfectly. Now everything was falling apart. Captain Morrison was still, exploring the edge of the purple clouds around Earth's solar system. His navigation officer, Beth Turner, had been tracking the strange sensor readings for weeks. She had found a pattern that made her nervous. "Captain," Beth said, "I've been plotting the locations of all the strange readings. They're not random. They form a perfect sphere around our entire solar system." Morrison looked at the star map Beth had created. The readings were everywhere around human space. It was like something was watching them from all directions. "Whatever is out there," Morrison said, "it's been watching us for a long time." Communications Officer Dan Price was listening to radio signals from deep space. Most of the time, space was quiet. But lately, he had been hearing structured signals that repeated in mathematical patterns. "Captain," Dan called out, "I'm picking up artificial signals from the areas where we detected the anomalies. They're definitely not natural, and they're using math progressions I've never seen before." The signals were actually reports from the Council's monitoring stations. Every day, the station sent updates about human activity back to the main Council base. But the humans were learning to understand the signals. Dr. Sophie Chun, working with Earth's military intelligence, had been studying the patterns for months. "These signals are status reports," Sophie told her commander. "Someone is sending regular updates about Earth. The math patterns include references to our planet's position, our population, and our technology level." The military leaders on Earth were starting to understand the truth. Someone had been watching them for a very long time. The Watchers knew everything about human civilization. They knew where humans lived, how many humans there were, and what kind of weapons humans had. Back on Kepler 438b, Dr. Kevin Walsh made another discovery. Deep inside the ruins, he found a chamber with star maps carved into the walls. The maps showed not just Earth's location, but the locations of 12 other worlds. Each world was marked with symbols that looked like they represented different alien races. "They knew," Kevin whispered as he sent his findings back to Earth. "Our ancestors knew about all of them. The question is, why did we forget?" The answer came from deeper in the ruins. Dr. Amanda Foster had sent a full archaeological team to help Kevin. They found what looked like a message carved in perfect English. The words were simple but frightening. "We were forced to choose between freedom and survival. We chose survival and agreed to forget, but we left you this reminder. Never let them cage you again." The message was signed with symbols that represented Earth and 12 other worlds. It was a warning from humanity's ancestors. They had known about the Alien Council. They had even been in contact with them. But something had gone wrong. The ancient humans had been forced to make a deal. They could survive, but only if they agreed to forget their place in the galaxy. The Council had hidden Earth and made humans forget about the other worlds. But the ancient humans had left clues for future generations to find. On Earth, the news spread quickly. Every human colony, every space station, every ship received the same message. Humanity was not alone in the galaxy. They never had been alone. But someone had been hiding the truth from them. For thousands of years, the Council watched in horror as humans began sharing the information across their entire civilization. The secret that had been kept for 3 centuries was spreading like wildfire. Every human in the galaxy now knew that aliens existed and that those aliens had been watching them. The containment had failed. The truth was out. And the humans were very angry about being lied to for so long. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when you tried to cage humanity. Lieutenant Colonel Greg Mitchell stood on the bridge of his ship, the Pathfinder. He had been thinking about the strange signals his crew had been detecting for weeks. The signals came from the same places every time. They used mathematical patterns that seemed almost like a language. Greg made a decision that would change everything. Instead of trying to catch the signals, he would send signals back. He would use the same mathematical patterns the aliens were using. If someone was watching humanity, it was time for humanity to say hello. "Are you sure about this, sir?" asked Dr. Nicole Reed, his science officer. "We don't know what we're dealing with." "That's exactly why we need to try," Greg replied. "If someone's been watching us, it's time we introduced ourselves." Greg ordered his communications officer to send a message using the alien mathematical patterns. The message was simple. It said, "We are here. We know you are watching. We want to talk." The response was immediate and shocking. Across the galaxy, every council monitoring station received the impossible message. Humanity was talking to them directly. The secret was blown wide open. The automatic systems that controlled the cloaking field around Earth began to activate. These systems had been built to respond if anyone made direct contact with the Council. The field flickered and began to shut down. On Earth, every person with a telescope saw the same thing at the same time. The purple clouds around their solar system were disappearing. As the clouds faded away, thousands of artificial objects became visible. Space stations, monitoring posts, and massive structures that had been hidden for centuries appeared in the sky. Admiral Patricia Hayes was the commander of Earth's Space Defense Force. She stood in the command center, watching her tactical display fill up with unknown contacts. There were so many alien structures around Earth that she could not count them all. "How long have they been there?" she asked Captain Ron Davis, her intelligence officer. "Based on the energy decay patterns we're detecting," Ron replied. "At least 300 years, maybe longer." The truth hit Patricia like a physical blow. For 3 centuries, aliens had been watching every move humanity made. They had been recording everything, studying everything, and humans had never known. On the council station, panic spread through every level of the government. Emergency sessions were called as reports came in from across human space. The containment had failed completely. Humanity was broadcasting news of the alien presence to every human settlement in the galaxy. "The humans are telling everyone," Counselor Zephyx reported to the assembled council. His crystal body was flickering with stress patterns. "They're sending detailed information about our monitoring stations, our technology, and our existence to every human ship and colony." Counselor Vextar's shadow form grew larger with anger. "We should have destroyed them when we had the chance. Now they're spreading like a virus through the galaxy." But Counselor Quill disagreed. Her feathers had turned a worried blue color. "It's too late for that. The information is already out there. Every human in the galaxy knows about us now." Back on Kepler 438b, Dr. Kevin Walsh was still exploring the ancient ruins. He had found something new that made him call Earth immediately. Deep in the oldest part of the ruins, he had discovered star maps that showed not just Earth's location, but the exact positions of 12 other worlds. "Amanda, you need to see this," Kevin said over the communication link to Dr. Amanda Foster. "On Earth, the maps show 12 worlds. I think they're the Council homeworlds." Amanda studied the star maps Kevin had sent. The positions matched perfectly with the sources of the alien signals they had been detecting. "Kevin, our ancestors didn't just know about the Council. They knew where every Council member lived." The implications were staggering. Ancient humans had possessed detailed knowledge of alien civilizations. They had known about the councils, home planets, their technology, and their plans. The question was why modern humans had forgotten everything. The answer came from another chamber in the ruins. Dr. Amanda Foster's archaeological team found what appeared to be a historical record, carved into the walls. The story it told was incredible and terrifying. Thousands of years ago, humans had been part of a galactic civilization. They had traveled between the stars and traded with dozens of alien species. But there had been a war. The Council had decided that some species were too dangerous to be allowed freedom in the galaxy. The Council didn't just hide us, Amanda realized as she read the ancient text. They forced our ancestors to choose between extinction and forgetting. Our ancestors chose to forget and return to Earth, but they left us these clues so we could find the truth when we were ready. The carved message continued with a warning. The Council fears what they cannot control. They will try to control you as they controlled us. Do not let them. The galaxy belongs to all who live in it, not just those who claim to rule it. Captain Morrison was leading a small fleet of human ships toward the edge of the solar system. Every ship in the fleet was broadcasting the same message to anyone who would listen. We are humanity. We have been hidden from the galaxy, but we choose to reveal ourselves. We come in peace, but we will not be caged. The message was being heard across the galaxy. On trading worlds, in alien cities, on distant colonies, people were learning about Earth for the first time. The Council's information monopoly was crumbling. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, Captain Ellen Wright had somehow managed to reach the planet with her converted freighter, the New Horizon. She was the first human to make contact with alien traders in the open market. How did you get here? Asked Trader Blix, a reptilian merchant who had never seen a human before. The Council database says your species doesn't exist. We've existed for a long time, Ellen replied calmly. The Council just didn't want you to know about it. The news spread through the trading post like wildfire. If the Council had hidden humanity, what else had they concealed? Across the galaxy, alien species began demanding answers about their own histories and their own neighbors. Dr. Lisa Parker was now leading humanity's first official diplomatic mission to the Council station. Her message was simple and direct. We're here to talk, but we're not here to be controlled. As her ship approached the massive alien station, Lisa could see that they were not alone. Ships from dozens of different species were converging on the Council station. All of them were demanding answers about the species that had been hidden from them. The Council had spent 3 centuries maintaining perfect control over galactic information. Now that control was collapsing, and they were about to face the consequences of their secrecy. The galaxy was learning what humanity had always known. The truth, once revealed, could never be hidden again. And the truth was that the Council had been lying to everyone for thousands of years. The meeting that was about to take place would determine the future of every species in the galaxy. But as the human diplomatic ship docked with the Council station, it carried with it the support of dozens of alien civilizations who had grown tired of being kept in the dark. The age of secrets was ending. The age of truth was about to begin. The news that humanity had been deliberately hidden from the galaxy sent shockwaves through every corner of Council space. Within days, the story had reached every member species. The reactions were different on every world, but they were all intense. The crystalline hegemony, led by Councillor Zephyx, was furious. During an emergency meeting, Zephyx's crystal body glowed bright red with anger. The humans must be stopped before they destroy everything we have built, he declared. Their aggressive nature and fast learning make them dangerous to every peaceful species in the galaxy. But other Council members disagreed strongly. Councillor Lyra of the Harmony Coalition stood up to argue against Zephyx. Her people looked like tall, graceful plants that could walk and talk. "We have watched the humans for 300 years, she said. "Yes, they fight often, but they also work together when they face outside threats. Maybe it is time to welcome them instead of hiding them." The argument went on for weeks, but it became pointless when humanity made their next move. Captain Morrison was now commanding a small fleet of human vessels that had spread across the galaxy. Every ship was broadcasting the same message to alien populations on every world they could reach. The message was simple and clear. We are humanity. We have been hidden from you, but we choose to show ourselves. We come in peace, but we will not be locked away. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, species that had never heard of Earth began receiving detailed information about human culture, technology, and history. The Council's control over information was broken overnight. On hundreds of worlds, aliens learned that there was a species called humanity that had been kept secret from them. They learned about human art, human music, human science, and human dreams. Many aliens were angry that this information had been hidden from them. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, alien merchants found themselves dealing with human traders who had somehow gotten past every security system to reach their markets. Captain Ellen Wright had converted her cargo ship, the New Horizon, into a mobile embassy. "How did you get here?" asked Trader Blix again, still confused about how humans had appeared so suddenly. "The Council said your species was too primitive for space travel." "A council says a lot of things," Ellen replied with a smile. "Most of them are lies designed to keep people apart." Word spread through the trading post quickly. If the Council had hidden humanity, what else had they concealed? Merchants began asking questions about their own trade routes, their own neighbors, their own hidden opportunities. The implications were staggering. Across the galaxy, species began demanding answers about their own histories. They wanted to know if they had hidden neighbors, too. They wanted to know what other secrets the Council had been keeping. On the water world of Aquatica, the deep swimmers began broadcasting messages they had been forbidden to send for centuries. On the desert planet of Sandros, the Wind Riders started flying in patterns that spelled out messages the Council had banned. On dozens of worlds, species began breaking rules they had followed for generations. Dr. Lisa Parker had reached the Council station with her diplomatic mission. But she was not alone. Ships from 40 different species had followed her there. All of them wanted answers about the species that had been hidden from the galaxy. The Council station was enormous, the size of a small city. It had been built to impress visitors with the power and authority of the Council. But now it was surrounded by angry aliens demanding to know the truth. Ambassador Carol Johnson stepped out of the human diplomatic ship and looked around the docking bay. She had never seen so many different alien species in one place. There were crystalline beings like Zephix, shadow creatures like Vexstar, plant people like Lyra, and dozens of others she had never imagined. "Welcome to the Council station," said Counselor Lyra, who had volunteered to meet the human delegation. "I am sorry for the circumstances that brought you here." "Don't apologize to us," Carol replied. "Apologize to all the species you've kept in the dark for centuries." The Council chamber was packed with representatives from species across the galaxy. Many of them had never been allowed to attend Council meetings before. The chamber had been designed to hold 12 Council members and a few observers. Now there were hundreds of aliens demanding to be heard. Counselor Zephix tried to call for order, but his voice was drowned out by angry shouting in dozens of different languages. The careful control that the Council had maintained for thousands of years was completely gone. Ambassador Johnson stood up to address the crowd. Her voice carried clearly across the chamber despite the noise. "For 300 years, you watched us," she began. "You studied our wars, our discoveries, our failures. You made lists of our weapons, our technologies, our art, but you never understood what makes humanity special. Counselor Zephyx interrupted her. Your species is aggressive, unpredictable, and dangerous. The hiding was necessary for galactic peace. Dangerous? Johnson smiled at him. Maybe, but not in the way you think. Behind her, a large display screen activated. It showed star maps that made several council members look very uncomfortable. The maps did not just show human space. They showed the hidden territories of 6 other species that the council had been concealing from the galaxy. You see, Johnson continued, in the weeks since we revealed ourselves, we have been busy. We found the architects, whom you hid because their technology is better than yours. We contacted the dreamers, whom you concealed because their ideas challenge your authority. We discovered the Forge Masters, the Deep Singers, the Star-Touched, and the Eternal Gardeners. All species you decided were too dangerous, or too advanced, or too different to be part of your perfect galactic order. The chamber erupted in chaos. Council members were shouting, demanding explanations, calling for immediate action. But their voices were drowned out by something that had never happened before. Alien civilizations were broadcasting messages of support for humanity directly into the council chambers. The hidden species are real, came a voice from the architect homeworld. Humanity has given us something we had forgotten, the courage to be seen. We support the humans, announced the dreamers. The age of hiding is over. One by one, the hidden species announced themselves to the galaxy. Each revelation made the council's position weaker. They had not just hidden humanity. They had hidden dozens of civilizations from each other. Captain Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood at the head of a combined fleet that surrounded the council station. The fleet included not just human ships, but vessels from 7 previously hidden species. The blockade they had formed was not threatening. It was protective, making sure that no single faction could silence the truth. The age of concealment is over, announced a voice from one of the architect's ships. Humanity has reminded us that freedom is worth fighting for. Dr. Amanda Foster presented evidence that completely destroyed the Council's version of galactic history. The ruins we found are not unique, she revealed. We have found similar sites across the galaxy, all containing the same message. Remember the hidden ones. Your ancestors knew about all of us. The question is, what made you forget? The answer came from Counselor Lyra, who stepped forward with data that contained the Council's most secret records. The Great Silence, she said quietly. 3,000 years ago, there was a war. Not between species, but between 2 ideas. Some believed in controlled growth, and others believed in unlimited freedom. The controllers won, and they began hiding species that did not fit their model of galactic stability. The truth was finally out. The Council had been deliberately keeping species apart for thousands of years, not to maintain peace, but to maintain their own power and control. The Council chamber had never seen anything like this before. Ambassador Carol Johnson stood in front of the most powerful alien leaders in the galaxy, but she was not afraid. She represented Earth's newly formed Galactic Relations Department, and she had come to speak the truth. For 300 years you watched us, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the huge chamber. You studied our wars, our achievements, our mistakes. You made lists of our weapons, our technologies, our art, but you never truly understood what makes humanity special. Counselor Zephyx interrupted her, his crystal body glowing with anger. Your species is aggressive, unpredictable, and dangerous. The hiding was necessary for galactic stability. Dangerous? Ambassador Johnson smiled. Perhaps, but not in the way you think. Behind her, the main display screen showed star maps that made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. The maps showed not just human space, but the hidden territories of many other species that the Council had been concealing from the galaxy. You see, Johnson continued, in the weeks since our revelation, we have been very busy. We found the architects, whom you hid because their technology surpasses your own. We contacted the dreamers, whom you concealed because their philosophy challenges your authority. We discovered the Forge Masters, the Deep Singers, the Star-Touched, and the Eternal Gardeners. All species you decided were too dangerous or too advanced or too different to be part of your perfect galactic order. The chamber erupted in chaos. Council members were shouting, demanding explanations, calling for immediate action. But their voices were drowned out by something unprecedented. Alien civilizations were broadcasting messages of support for humanity directly into the council chambers. Admiral Morrison, who had once been Captain Morrison, stood at the head of a combined fleet that represented not just humanity, but 7 previously hidden species. The ships that surrounded the council station were not there to threaten anyone. They were there to protect the truth from being silenced again. The age of concealment is over, announced Architect Prime Designation. 7, speaking for the first time to the council that had hidden their existence for thousands of years. Humanity has given us something we had forgotten, the courage to be seen. Dr. Amanda Foster, now serving as humanity's chief xenorchaeologist, presented evidence that completely shattered the Council's version of galactic history. The ruins on Kepler 438b are not unique, she revealed to the assembled aliens. We have found similar sites across the galaxy, all containing the same message. Remember the hidden ones. Your ancestors knew about all of us. The question is what made you forget? The answer came from Counselor Lyra, who stepped forward with data crystals that contained the Council's most classified records. She had decided that the truth was more important than her loyalty to the Council. The Great Silence, she said quietly. 3,000 years ago, there was a war. Not between species, but between 2 philosophies. Those who believed in controlled evolution and those who believed in unlimited growth. The controllers won, and they began hiding species that did not fit their model of galactic stability. But you made one mistake, Admiral Morrison said, his voice carrying across the chamber. You assumed that hidden meant defeated. You assumed that silence meant agreement. You assumed that isolation meant weakness. The display behind him showed the current state of the galaxy. Dozens of species were emerging from hiding. Ancient alliances were being renewed. New confederations were forming faster than the Council could track them. The careful balance of power that had maintained galactic stability for thousands of years was crumbling, but it was being replaced by something far more dynamic and alive. We offer you a choice, Ambassador Johnson concluded. Join US in building a new galactic community based on openness and cooperation, or be left behind as the galaxy moves forward without you. The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. Representatives from over 200 species participated. Many of them had never been allowed to speak in the council chamber before. The discussion was loud, chaotic, and sometimes angry, but it was also honest. When the vote finally came, it was closer than anyone had expected. 7 of the 12 council species chose to dissolve their authority and join the new Galactic Federation. The remaining 5 retreated to their home systems, declaring independence from the growing alliance. The crystalline hegemony, led by Zephix, was one of the 5 that refused to join. We will not be part of this chaos, Zephix declared as his. People prepared to leave. You will see that some order is necessary for civilization to survive. But the Harmony Coalition, the Void Runners, the Feathered Dominion, and 4 other council species voted to join the new federation. They were tired of keeping secrets and controlling other civilizations. 6 months later, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty's Edge, but this time he was not alone. His crew included humans, architects, dreamers, and representatives from 24 other species. They were heading toward the galactic core, where ancient ruins suggested the existence of even more hidden civilizations. "Think we'll find anyone else who is tucked away?" asked Commander Beth Turner, who now served. As the ship's first officer, Morrison smiled, watching the stars ahead. "In a galaxy this big, with this many secrets? I would bet on it." The new Galactic Federation had established its capital on a neutral world called Haven. A planet had been chosen because no single species had ever claimed it. Representatives from over 300 species now met there regularly to discuss trade, exploration, and cooperation. Dr. Lisa Parker had become the Federation's first Secretary of Galactic Affairs. Her job was to help newly discovered species integrate into galactic society. Every month, the exploration fleets found new civilizations that had been hidden or forgotten. The old council species that had refused to join the Federation were not enemies, but they were isolated. They maintained their own territories and their own rules, but they no longer controlled galactic affairs. The galaxy had moved on without them. On Earth, children learned about the galaxy in school. They studied alien languages, alien cultures, and alien sciences. Many of them dreamed of joining the exploration fleets to find new worlds and new civilizations. The purple clouds that had once hidden Earth's solar system were gone forever. Earth's sun shone brightly for all the galaxy too. See, humanity had chosen to reveal itself to the galaxy, and in doing so, had revealed the galaxy to itself. Trade routes that had been forbidden for thousands of years were now open. Technologies that had been kept secret were now shared. Art, music, literature, and ideas flowed freely between worlds. The age of concealment was over. The age of discovery had begun. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy was truly free. Captain Morrison looked out at the stars and smiled. Humanity had done something that no other species had managed to do. They had broken the chains that kept civilizations apart. They had proven that the truth, once revealed, could never be hidden again. The galaxy was a bigger, brighter, and more wonderful place than anyone had imagined. And it was only the beginning.